Now in the next verse, ayah number 3. وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تُقْسِطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى. And if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُمْ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. Then marry those that please you of other women. How many? مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. 2 or 3 or 4. فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا. And then if you fear that you will not be just, فَوَاحِدَةً. Then marry only one. أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. Or those your right hands possess. ذَلِكَ أَدْنَى أَلَّا تَعُولُوا. That is more suitable that you may not incline to injustice. Now there's a lot of issues that are mentioned in this verse. A very comprehensive verse that covers a lot of different subjects, a lot of different themes. Now, first of all, we see here that this verse is about orphan girls, all right? Because we see that orphan girls are even more vulnerable. They're even more oppressed, in fact, compared to orphan boys. So the guardians of orphan girls are being addressed over here. Now, when it comes to orphan girls, one of the first things that people think about is to get them married, right? As soon as they are of marriageable age, even if they're, teenagers, very young, they're like, just get them married so that they have their own home, right? They have their own family, and we don't have to be burdened with, taking care of such girls. But then we see that many times the rights of such girls are compromised, and that begins from the time of marriage. Whether that happens very early or it happens later, a lot of times we see that such girls, their rights are compromised at the time of marriage. So here, the guardians of orphan girls are being addressed, right? And what is being said? That if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, then don't marry them. Instead, marry someone else. Marry someone whom you like. You can marry 2, 3, or 4, but don't marry the orphan girl whom you know you're going to mistreat because her father is not there. You know that you're not going to be fair to her because she's an orphan. So, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تُقْسِطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُمْ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. Now, in a hadith we learn, Aisha radiallahu anha, she was asked by her nephew Urwa about this ayah, about this verse, that what does it mean? What's the connection over here? So she explained that, oh my nephew, this is about the orphan girl who lives with her guardian, all right, and shares his property because, she is under his care. So she's living with his family. And now this orphan girl has wealth, right? And she is also, beautiful. And he thinks that, what, if I marry her, what will happen? I can take all of her wealth. And if I marry her, the guardian is thinking, if I marry her, then what will happen? I don't have to give her any mahr either, because who's going to question me, right? I am supposed to be her guardian. So if I marry her, nobody else is going to demand, that I give her a mahr, right? So like this, people would get away with committing injustice against such women. So Aisha radiallahu anha explained that such guardians were forbidden from marrying such orphan girls unless they treated them justly and gave them the most suitable mahr. So, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تُقْسِطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى. Yatama over here is specifically referring to orphan girls. That if you fear that you cannot be just with them, you cannot deal justly with them. And what does it mean by dealing justly with them? It means giving them a mahr that is appropriate. Now, it's well known that in Islam, when a man marries a woman, he has to give her a mahr, right? He has to give her a gift, right, of some sort. a mahar that the woman agrees on, right? That she accepts, that she's okay with. And that mahar could be a lot or it could be little. Uh, as long as the woman is happy with her, or her wali is pleased with that amount, it's acceptable, right? But there must be some kind of mahar, right? Mahar is one of the conditions of nikah, right? So what happens in a situation like this is that now there's an orphan girl, right? And her father is not there, right, to ensure that his daughter gets a proper, decent mahar, right? Nobody's there to advocate for her. So in this case, what happens is that this guy who wants to marry her offers a very, little mahar, right? Which would be unacceptable otherwise. Meaning, if he were to marry someone else, he would have to give a much bigger amount, right? So, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تُقْسِطُوا, if you are afraid, you know yourself, you know your weakness, you know that khiyana, that cheating, that you know you have the potential for, and you know that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, then what should you do? Still marry this woman? No, marry someone else. فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ. Don't even think about marrying this orphan girl. Go marry someone else. And this shows us how important it is to be mindful of, to recognize yourself and to recognize your weaknesses, and not put yourself in a situation where you know you're going to be sinful. You know that you're going to, compromise on the rights of others. So it is said here, فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ, that marry whom you please of the women. Now, this is a very important matter that sometimes we dismiss, that we think that, in marriage, it's not necessary for the couple to like each other. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us over here is, marry ma taba lakum, what you like, marry whom you like. So this shows us that it's very important that when two people are getting married, there should be some kind of, attraction, meaning that they want to marry each other. They like each other, right? Ma taba lakum. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ advised that the man should see the woman somehow. Why? Because then there will be some kind of, he knows who he's marrying and he wants to marry her. So, فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ. And this shows us that where, for example, a man says that I don't want to marry this girl, right? A guy says, I don't want to marry this girl, but the family is constantly pressuring him. This is not right. Likewise, if a girl is being pressured into marrying someone whom she does not like at all, this is injustice. This is not fair. فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ. There should be some kind of attraction, some kind of, likeness that, yes, I like this person. I want to marry them. And whom you like, this could be for various reasons. This could be because of khalq or khuluq, right? Meaning because of their physical appearance, or it could also be because of their character, right? Their personality. So, فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ. And then it is said, مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. 2 or 3 or 4, meaning up to 4. So this shows us that a man can have 4 women in marriage, right, at the same time, but not more than 4. 4 is the absolute max, right? مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. Now, here we see that, the verse begins with وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ, you have a fear that you won't deal justly, right? So this shows us that, when it comes to just the idea of marrying a certain individual, and you have a strong, fear, you have some reservations, and you really feel that you can't do justice in that relationship, then don't walk into it. Don't get into it. Don't ignore the genuine concerns and fears that you have, right? Because then what you're doing is that, you're telling yourself that, yes, you know what, I should control myself and things will work out. What about the other person, right? They don't deserve to enter into a relationship where, their rights are going to be compromised. So, of course, discuss with people whom you trust, and take their advice to see if it's a good idea to marry a certain individual. Share your apprehensions and your concerns. Take advice, right? Read a book on whatever concern that you have. Speak to your family. Communicate with your potential spouse also. Let them know about your reservations, your concerns, your fears. Why? Because when people don't have such clear communication, then later on it affects the marriage constantly until the marriage breaks down. Right? Marriage is supposed to be a source of sukoon, not a source of constant trouble and fear, and that sense of deprivation. So here a solution is given, that when you know you're not going to be fair, then don't marry this person. Go find someone else. Go find someone whom you will like. Go marry 2, 3, 4. There's plenty of fish out there, right? مثنى وثلاث ورباع. فإن خفتم ألا تعدلوا. Now, another fear is mentioned, that if you fear that you are not going to be just, you are not going to be just with who? With 2 wives or 3 wives or 4, right? Meaning if you have more than one wife, if you take more than one wife, and now you are, and you are afraid before, marrying a second or third or fourth wife, you are afraid that you will not be able to do justice, then what should you do? فَوَاحِدَةً. Then marry only one. Don't marry more than one in that case. أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ, or that which your right hands possess. Now, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ, this fear that a person has could be for many reasons. It could be because of lack of wealth. Like a person can barely support, himself or, one wife, and he's daydreaming about having 3 wives. Well, you can barely pay rent and support one wife. How on earth are you going to support 2 or 3, right? You have to be realistic. Tawakkul does not mean that you become unrealistic. Tawakkul is that you do whatever is within your means, right? And you put your trust in Allah. Tawakkul is not that you do nothing on your part and you put all of your trust in Allah. That is not tawakkul at all. So, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ, you are afraid, you don't have that money, right? You lack organization in your life. You're late to work. You cannot get your work done. If you, spend time with one child, you don't get to see the other child for so long. You are a busy person who works, 9 to 5 or 9 to 7 every single day. You barely get to spend time with your one wife. Then why are you daydreaming about taking a second or third? So any fear that you have that makes you think that you're not going to be able to do justice, then فَوَاحِدَةً أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. And again, this teaches us another general principle in our lives, that when we know that we cannot do justice to something, then let us not put our hands into it, because then we are putting ourselves in a situation where we are going to make mistakes. We are going to be sinful. Now, we see that, sometimes people are not even in that position to support one wife, right? For example, they don't have a job, they don't have a place to live, they don't have, stability in their life, and they're thinking about getting married. This is very irresponsible. You see, a man is required to take care of his family. This is a religious obligation upon the man. Right. So if he knows that he is extremely busy, he is not able to, have a wife at the moment. He's not able to have children at the moment. He knows that he does not have the financial capacity to support a wife. Then he should not think about getting married at that time. He should wait until he is able to. right? Now, of course, life will never be perfect. There will always be, stressors. There will always be a reason to, be busy, right? But each person knows what situation they're in, right? And they should take account of that situation before getting married. We learn about Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Ibn Jawzi writes in the book Virtues of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal that Imam Ahmad said that I did not marry until I was past 40. And he got married after 40 years of age. And he married very late in his life. And why is that so? There's different reasons that are given. One is that perhaps he was busy with ilm, right? He was busy studying, learning, right? And because that was his priority, he knew that if he were to get married, he would not be able to do justice to his wife. And we see that Imam Ahmad is not the only one. We also learn about, for example, Imam An-Nawawi, that he did not get married, right? For the same reason. Imam Ahmad managed to get married by, after he was 40, but Imam An-Nawawi died even before he was 40. Allahu A'lam. But this is one of the reasons that is suggested. Another reason that is suggested as to why Imam Ahmad did not marry until after he was 40 is that some say that his mother was actually very old, right? And he did not have any siblings, which means that his mother, it depended on him entirely. So he was supposed to take care of his mother. Now, as a person, as a man of knowledge who is busy in learning and then in teaching, in helping people, and at the same time, he has to look after his mother, right? How is he supposed to get married and then also take care of his wife? He knew he was not able to do that. Now, many people would think in a situation like that, go get married so that your wife can look after your mother, right? And then you will be free. But Imam Ahmad was not like that, right? Because it's not the wife's job to look after your mother. It's your job to look after your mother. If your wife helps you in that, that's excellent, right? But it's not her responsibility. So anyway, we see this in the righteous people before us, that they did not enter marriage irresponsibly or hastily, because marriage is not just about, having someone to fulfill your sexual desire with. No, there are responsibilities that come with marriage. And it is important that a person takes care of those responsibilities, because you see how the surah begins? Fear your Lord. Fear your Lord. So these responsibilities Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has imposed upon us, right? It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has made the man qawwam, right? Meaning the man is responsible over his, over providing for his family. So if a man feels that he does not have that ability, he does not have that financial capacity, then he should not put himself in a situation like that. فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا فَوَاحِدَةً. When you are afraid that you cannot be just, then have only one wife. أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. Now, ذَلِكَ أَدْنَى أَلَّا تَعُولُوا. That is more likely that you will not deviate from justice. Meaning, if you have only one wife, then what will happen? Then you will not deviate from justice. So the point is, do your best to stay away from injustice, to stay away from oppression, because this matter is very serious. The Prophet ﷺ said, when a man has two wives and he is inclined to one of them, such that he is completely ignoring the second, then he will come on the day of judgment with the side of his hanging down, as if he was half paralyzed. That is how a person will come on the day of judgment. So ذَلِكَ أَدْنَى أَلَّا تَعُولُوا. So this ayah teaches us that even though certain things may be permissible, right? They may be mubah, they may be permissible, right? It doesn't mean that you should still do it, because when you engage with it, then there will be a certain level of responsibility on you, right? And when you know that you will not be able to fulfill that responsibility, then stay away. Don't put yourself in a situation where you know you're going to fail. Don't set yourself up for failure, basically. Then in the next verse it is said, وَآتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدُقَاتِهِنَّ نِحْلَةً, and give the women their saduqat nihla, graciously. Meaning that upon marriage, then what is it that you should do? You should give the women saduqat, their saduqat. And what is saduqat? Bridal gift. And how should you give it? Nihla, graciously, happily. So now we see, if you look at the sequence over here, first of all, the property of the orphans, right? That rules regarding that were mentioned. Then we see specifically orphan girls, their mahr, right, is being preserved. And now women in general. So وَآتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدُقَاتِهِنَّ النِّحْلَةً, that upon marriage, give the women their bridal gifts. Now the bridal gift, the mahr, right, it is called saduqat, which is a plural of sadaq, right, over here. Now what is sadaq? Sadaq is mahr, all right? And it's from the word sidq. Sidq is to be truthful. Why is the mahr called sadaq? Because it proves the honest commitment of the man in that relationship. Okay, this is well experienced. Okay, when you have invested money in something, then after some time, even though you no longer need it, you no longer want it, you still hold on to it. Why? Because you spent money on it, right? This is human psychology. This is how a lot of us think. I paid for it. How can I just throw it? Which is why we see that sometimes in our houses, we will find things that are broken, right? Things that are old, things that no longer work, but we will keep them because once upon a time, we spent a few $100s on them, right? So we have difficulty getting rid of things that we have spent money on, right? Money, when you spend money on something, this is a way of making sure that you are committed, right? Which is why we see that, for example, you can listen to this lecture right now on YouTube, right? And that's fine. You can listen to it. You can watch the slides. You can see the translation. You can do it on your own. But when you register for the course, when you spend money, even though it's minimal amount compared to what you would pay, for worldly education, but when you give even a little bit of money, this is a way of making sure that you remain committed, right? So what's going to happen? You're going to make sure that you are listening to the classes. If you miss something, then you're going to make sure you make up for the recording. And then what happens? You do the assignments, the tests, etc. So spending money is a way of making sure that you commit, right? So when a man marries a woman, he is required, mandated to give her a financial gift, right? Why? Because this shows that he is serious about the relationship. He is serious about it. And so if a woman demands, a whole lot of money, that's her right, right? Because she wants to make sure that he is serious. Sometimes people, in certain families, they will make sure that a certain property is put in the name of the woman, right? That she's not just given cash or jewelry, but that she's given, a property, or that her name is included, right? She has a share of it. So mahr is called sadaq. In the Quran, it's also called ajr, ujur, which means reward. It's also called farida, which means an obligatory portion. So here it is said, وَآتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدُقَاتِهِنَّ نِحْلَةً. Give them their sadaqat, which means that this is the right of the woman. It's her property, right? And once the man gives the mahr to his wife, then what happens? That mahr belongs to her. It is her property, not yours. Okay? So, آتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدُقَاتِهِنَّ النِّحْلَةً. Now it is said that give them that mahr nihlatan. Now what is nihla? Nihla means three things basically. The first meaning of nihla is an obligation, meaning this is an obligation on you. A man must give the mahr to the woman. Okay. وَآتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدُقَاتِهِنَّ نِحْلَةً. Nihla meaning farida. This is an obligation. There's no avoiding it. All right. This is her right. This is your obligation. Secondly, the second meaning of nihla is hiba, meaning give it as a gift. Okay. Give it as a gift. Meaning this is a gift that you must give to the wife at the time of marriage. And some have said that it's called nihla because this is like a gift from Allah. And how do you give a gift to someone? How are you supposed to give a gift to someone? Here, take it already and don't bother me again. No, when you're giving a gift to someone, you approach them the sense of, this is please accept this humble gift from me. Right? We become so friendly over there. We lower ourselves so much. Please accept this humble gift, this little gift from me. Right? I'm so sorry. I hope, I wish I could have done better, but this is all I could do at the moment. And you know that when you're giving a gift to someone, that, what you've given is not enough, right? That you are eager to give even more in the future. The third interpretation is that nihla means graciously, meaning طيبة النفس, happily, willingly. Do not give the mahr begrudgingly. No, give it happily because this is something that Allah has commanded you to give her. And then once you give it, don't be gracious about it. Don't bother her when she takes it. How is it that men bother women after giving the mahr? Sometimes they keep reminding them. There's constant man. All right. 10 years later, even, remember the mahr I gave you? Remember the $10,000, the $50,000, the $20,000, the jewelry that I gave you? Right. And constantly reminding. And some men have a very bad habit where they keep reminding their wives of how much they have spent on them and how much they are spending on them. Constantly reminding. And this is something that is so destructive for the relationship. And it is something that wastes your reward as well. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا تبطلوا صدقاتكم بالمن والأذى. Don't nullify your charity by man and adha. Meaning when you constantly remind someone of the favor that you've done them, the gift that you've given them, you're canceling the favor that you did. You're canceling the reward. It's no longer a favor, it's a burden. Right? So give it graciously. Don't keep reminding. And then some people, what they do is that they give the mahr, but then they use that to exploit the woman, right? Or to further deprive her. That, for example, when she's in need of something, they tell her, go away, don't ask me for anything. I gave you your mahr already, right? How dare you ask me for more? Or that if she asks for some help in, the chores around the house, she's told, I gave you this, I bring the money, so you do everything else, right? Don't be so petty, right? Give the mahr graciously. When you spend on your wife, spend graciously with decency, right? And happily, because remember that even though this is specifically about mahr, but otherwise we learn that when a man spends on his wife, he's rewarded for it. Even the bite of food that he puts in the mouth of his wife, right? He is rewarded for it. So do these good deeds happily, with dignity, graciously, right? Not as a burden. And then sometimes what happens is that if there is mahr mu'akhar is where the payment of the mahr is deferred, right? So for example, at the time of marriage, the woman is told that, okay, I'll give you 10,000. At the moment I have 5,000. Hopefully by the end of the year, I should have another 5,000 to give you, right? So she's like, okay, fine. I'm fine with that. Give me 5 right now. I'll take 5 later. All right. But then what happens is that now the nikah takes place, but then now the man is constantly, hurting her, verbally abusing her, and pressuring her basically that she should give up the 5,000 that remains. So give the mahr. How? Nihlatan. It's their property. Give it to them graciously. This is an obligation on you. This is a gift. How do you give a gift? فَإِن طِبْنَ لَكُمْ عَنْ شَيْءٍ مِّنْهُ نَفْسًا فَكُلُوهُ هَنِيئًا مَرِيئًا. Then if they, فَإِن طِبْنَ لَكُمْ, but if they give up willingly to you anything of it, then take it in satisfaction and ease. Meaning after you give them the mahr, what happens? The woman says, she sees that her husband is struggling financially. She says, I want to help you. I know that you're struggling with your business. So I know that you gave me this mahr, but I realize that, you need it more. So I want to help you. Right? So if she, out of her own willingness, right, gives something of that mahr to her husband, that, here, use it to buy the car, here, use it to, save your business, etc. If she gives it herself, فَكُلُوهُ هَنِيئًا مَرِيئًا, then take it, eat it, use it. How? هَنِيئًا مَرِيئًا. Now, hani'an mari'a, these words are very interesting. Hani'an with delight, mari'an with wholesome results. Hani is basically that when you are using something, you actually enjoy it. Okay. For example, hani at-ta'am is when the food is delicious. You're eating it and you find it delicious, right? In your mouth, the taste, the texture, everything. You had a good time enjoying that meal, eating that meal. Mari, on the other hand, the second word in the ayah, hani'an mari'a, the last word of the ayah, mari is that which has wholesome good results. So for example, sometimes you enjoy the meal, but then later on you get sick. You have an upset stomach. You feel nauseous, right? May Allah protect you. You have an allergic reaction. So marad ta'am is when the food digests easily, right? Meaning it doesn't cause any trouble. Ghaythum mari is when a rain is productive, meaning when the rain falls afterwards, there's a lot of vegetation and growth. So in its outcome also, it will not harm you with the permission of Allah. Whereas if you take something unlawfully, something that is not legally yours, then what will happen? Its outcome will be harmful for you, detrimental for you, right? But here in this case, this is not going to be harmful because the woman is giving it to you out of her own willingness. And this shows us that, sometimes you give a gift to someone, right? Now what happens? It's their property. You're not asking them, give it back to me. No way. That's not even on your mind. But they, out of their own willingness, give some of the gift that you gave them to you. Is it permissible for you? Absolutely permissible. Did you demand it from them? No, you didn't. But if you were to demand it from them, if you were to say, give it back to me, right? Then what would happen? This would be extremely reprehensible, right? Because giving a gift and then taking it back, this has been compared to a dog throwing up and then eating up its puke, basically. So this is not that case because the woman has given it to you out of her own volition, out of her own willingness. So inshallah, we will conclude here for today. And if there are any questions, inshallah, in the classroom, I will take them up right now. Okay. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.